Christmas is over, you've eaten all the cookies, you've done all the gifts, your bank account's basically empty, and it's a new year, and you gotta buy some art supplies. So what do you do? All right, welcome to Cheap Bastard Art Supplies. So here's the basic thing we're gonna do. We're gonna look at how things we use every day can turn themselves into art supplies. But right off the bat, I've got a real art supply kind of, I hate to use the word hack, but let's call it a word. Let's call it a hack. And this is it. You've got tube paint, but you really want fluid paint for a particular thing you're doing or whatever, but you want it to be fluid. And you don't want to go buy fluid paint because you've got the color in tube paint, you don't need to do it. Fluid matte medium. You've probably got it tucked away somewhere, or fluid gloss medium as the case may be. And you basically, since you know the pigmentation of both of these are basically the same, you know that you can turn this into this, and all you need to do it is fluid matte medium. It's an easy fix, it's easy to do. I've done it. Now, don't go all mathy on me and say, well, you know, if you use too much of this to that, that's all true. I mean, if you put like half a quart of that in like a small pinch of this, it's just going to be really weak paint. But if you keep the paint pretty solid, you'll be in good shape, and you can do a lot with that. The other thing you can do with paint is if you're mixing up a lot of custom colors, and of course I don't have a prop here to show because this is prop comedy today. You know, you can buy empty tubes at the art supply store. So let's say you're mixing up a real special batch of red or a special batch of blue or green or whatever, or let's say you're a landscape painter and you know you just are tired of like mixing 17 different kind of colors of sagey green to this green. Pre-mix them, put them into your own tubes, write the name of what they are on the tube, and you've got custom colors that you don't have to go and remix everything from scratch all the time. It's a great time saver, and it's a great studio trick. And once you mix your paints and put them into tubes, they're just like all the other tube paint in the world. It'll last a long, long time, and it'll work out for you. So there's that. I think that's a great one. This is a pencil sharpener. A long time ago, they used to make these really well. This one's actually from the 1960s, early 1970s. When I moved to New York, I took it out of the house I was living at. It came with the house. So this is actually a good one. They don't make a lot of good pencil sharpeners anymore. Most of them suck. And the ones that are even worse are little handheld ones they try to sell you, and you buy in art school because you need to have a pencil sharpener. Well, you've got a pencil sharpener. It's a utility knife. And it does a great job sharpening pencils. And as much as I'm dying to do a video on how to sharpen a pencil, I can't do it. But basically, you'll just whittle this away and you'll leave the lead exposed. What's nice is you can also carve the lead thick to thin. You can make it really blunt, do whatever. It doesn't always have to be a perfect point. So the perfect pencil sharpener is right here. It's in your hands, and it's probably always with you because you probably always have a utility knife of some sort. It's a great way to go. Oh my God, are we doing a listicle here? It's about time. This is the top from a food container. Comes with Chinese food, Thai food, whatever kind of carryout you might get. Comes on top of it. There's a beauty to this. You get this one and a much larger one underneath it. It costs about $10, but it also feeds you and maybe somebody else, and then becomes an art supply. In my case, it becomes pallets down the road. And I don't bother cleaning them out because, frankly, they work better the more you get paint kind of stuck into them. Some people love peeling paint. I don't really care, but what I found about these is that they're cheap. You've got them around. You save them over time. You get new ones. You throw away old ones if you don't want them anymore. But you can get real soupy paint into this and still not have it like bleed over like it's a piece of palette paper or a glass palette. But I always like something with a nice lip around it. So if I'm doing something really soupy and watery, I've got that ability to let that paint do that and then build up lots of thin layers. For me, I find that works really well. And since we're talking about other things that kind of came with things that you buy, these are Cascade brand dishwasher tab containers. I buy these at the Safeway. They cost about anywhere from $12 to $20 depending on the size. But they let me wash all my dishes in my dishwasher for, I don't know, 8 weeks, 10 weeks at a time. And when they're done, they're great for water. I paint in acrylics. They're great for water. They're hard to tip over. They you don't fill them up to here. You fill them to about here because, as you know, you only need to have your bristles of your brush wet. So they don't have to hold a lot of water. But even better, they just don't tip over. I've seen so many people try to use yogurt cups, and within 10 minutes, all the yogurt cups have basically, they've spilled. And then you've got like painty water all over everything. And, while I'm here in my home studio today, in my other studio, I don't worry so much about spills. It's still a pain in the studio to have a bunch of spilled water and you're dealing with it. So get these kind of containers that don't spill. There's honorable mentions here because there's so many of these kind of things. There's a brand of gelato that comes in circular containers that are about this tall, but they're circles and they're perfect squares, but they're circles, if that makes any sense. Anything that you see that doesn't tip well, Domino Sugar does plastic containers for sugar that are as tall as they are wide. They don't spill. Lots of stuff out there. Just take a look at it. What you're not looking for are things that are tall and narrow, because when you put a brush in it, they just tip over. And that's not fun for anybody. Certainly not fun for me. So I like the non-tipping things. And last but not least, for our watercolor friends, there's a lot of different kind of palettes out there for watercolorists. Most of them are these round things that have lots of little teeny kind of pockets that hold a little bit of water, and then they have like a little middle place. And if you paint with anything for any serious amount of time, you'll find out just how horrible those are. And really what works well is a plate. This is of course a salad plate or a bread plate. I pulled it out of the kitchen. I don't really paint in watercolor, so I'm not going to use this as a palette. So if you use a plate for a palette, go buy it at like, a thrift store or something like that. It makes a lot more sense. And buy 2 or 3. Here's the thing too with plates. Sometimes plates have a flat bottom. This has a flat bottom, so it's really great. But sometimes they're kind of bowl shaped. But if you flip them over, you've always got this kind of pool area here, and this is usually flat. So you've got a lot of options with plates. And if you're using watercolors and you're done with it, you can just rinse it off. It's no big deal, and it goes back to being really clean. Piece of advice, once you start using one of these things for a palette, don't eat off of it. Even if you put it through the dishwasher, it's just bad form. The last big tip I can give you guys on studio stuff today is select a pair of pants and a shirt, and maybe a sweatshirt, and make those be the clothes you wear in the studio. Nothing is worse than like every pair of pants you own and half the shirts you own having paint on them. There are times where we have to be social or go to work or whatever, and really don't need paint on our clothes. So just go into the studio, change your clothes, or change your clothes before you go, however you want to do it, I don't really care. But think about that. Have your own clothes that you wear. I especially do it with shoes. I have a pair of shoes that are just covered in gesso and paint, and that I'd never wear out of the studio. It's just a great way of keeping your other clothes in good shape. If you're not replacing your other clothes, that means you're not spending money on new clothes. And all of this stuff is really designed just to not have you spend money places you don't need to spend money. So I think it's going to be pretty good. That's it for me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you can. That is what it is. Hope you guys all have a great year. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks again.